Welcome back. We finally have a name for the podcast. I think it's Welcome to the Week You Missed, something like that. The Week You Missed, the Week You Missed. Jer and Todd, Todd and Jer, Todd and the Bear, Jer and the Bear, Todd Pod, all of those work. But we finally got it. It is July 30th, beautiful day in Philadelphia. I'm sure it's a beautiful day in North Carolina too. Although the last couple of days, there was like 10 or 11 tornadoes within an hour of Philadelphia yesterday, which is I think unlike Philadelphia weather that I remember. It was pretty crazy.
I saw that. I think it was it's pretty wild.
Yeah, definitely pretty wild. But into our show, my segment for the day, I'm talking about Republicans, how they're hypocritical, how they suck. I don't even know. I'm curious what you think. Do Republicans, are they for the vaccine or are they against the vaccine now?
You know, it's...
I can't tell. I'm confused. And that's, I guess, what sucks of them this week. I think, as far as I can tell, they're starting to change their narrative a little bit and say that you should get the vaccine, that it's probably best to get the vaccine, that it should be your choice, but it's probably best to get the vaccine to be safe. Now, I understand that everyone the last couple of years has been flip-flopping back and forth because the science does change a bit. Whatever we know changes a bit. It's a virus that we don't have a lot of information on. But with the Republicans right now saying to get the vaccine, I feel like they don't admit that they might have been wrong for the last 6 months. There's so many people who were so adamant about not getting the vaccine, being vocal about not doing it, and now saying, hey, it's probably best to get it. That's fine, but maybe you should say, hey, for the last few months, I was wrong in saying that you shouldn't. Where now they're saying, I feel like a lot of the narrative I'm seeing is like, oh, thanks to Donald Trump for Operation Warp Speed, we were able to get the vaccine. And it's like, okay, cool, but I don't know. I don't get the back and forth. And I think they still are saying don't wear a mask. And I'm curious, are they going to flop on that as well eventually, or what's the deal? So do you think Republicans are for vaccine or against vaccine at this point? Which it shouldn't even be a partisan issue, a vaccine, but it is. So
I'm going to give you a super bullshit answer, but that is absolutely the truth. It depends who they're talking to at that very moment.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think you're 100% right. It depends who they're talking to.
That is exactly what will determine whether or not.
The reasoning behind whatever they say also will change. It'll either be thank Donald Trump for Operation Warp Speed, or it's Biden's fault that there's not as much vaccines being pushed out. I saw that, which I don't know how they could put it on Biden. I feel like that's all he's saying is for everyone to get the vaccine. But yeah, and then sometimes they're even still saying don't get the vaccine if it's the right audience in front of them. You're completely right about that. So do you think this push will change anything?
Honestly, no, I don't think it will. I think, I think the number of people that are vaccine hesitant or just flat out anti-vaxxers they're sort of dug in, and I don't think there's much that will change their mind. I do think that when the vaccine has formal FDA approval, I think you will see a spike in people getting it. One, because I think some people are waiting for that.
That's a good point.
And two, once that happens, a lot of employers and other municipalities and other groups are going to feel more comfortable mandating that people get it.
Definitely.
So I think, to me, that's going to be the only thing that is really going to change and try to drive up the vaccination numbers. That's the only thing I can see on the horizon that will actually move the needle in terms of getting more people to get shots in arms.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, at this point, I think it's all theater. I think none of it matters. I think it's all just complete and utter bullshit. And this whole thing to me has just been a a sign of what a dysfunctional country we have become in some of the more important aspects of running a society.
Definitely, that is something I think a lot of us can agree on. Unfortunately, it's certainly a shit show, and it's I'm curious if it's always been this wild with going back and forth and lying, or if it's just more obvious now that we have like the internet and we can backtrack stuff and everything's recorded. But I feel like politicians these days, all of them, go back and forth, like you said, depending on the audience or the day or who they're talking to, whatever. They never say the same thing twice. It's wild.
Well, and you know what, and you know, there I forget. I think it's an H.L. Mencken quote. It's something along the lines of like, people get the government they deserve, and they get it good and hard. And it's like, you know what? I'm not shocked that our politics have descended to this level of just nonsense, because I mean, if you just talking to people about these issues or trying to have a conversation about politics is so often just a complete waste of time, because people they're constantly shifting what they actually think. There's no logical consistency. There's no sort of underwriting, sort of philosophical way of looking at things. It's just everyone has an opinion on an issue at that time, based, in my opinion, largely on what they think they're supposed to believe, based on whether they're like a Republican or a Democrat or a Christian or a black person or a white person or whatever. And it's like, I feel like no one actually says what they feel like, or a large portion of people don't say what they actually think. They think, what am I supposed to think?
Right.
And then they say that. And I think that's what you're seeing with Republicans and being anti-vax or vax resistant, and what you see with a lot of Democrats and people that are liberal really being incredibly aggressive and angry and mean about people like choosing not to wear a mask or choosing not to get a vaccine. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I do think there are people that are not crazy, that have rational, thought out reasons as to why they don't want to get the vaccine. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I think I would prefer if probably people just went out and got it. But this idea that everyone who doesn't want to take the vaccine is just like some knuckle dragging idiot is not true. Right. It's not.
Agreed.
Like, and I think and as long as that's part of the conversation and you're just attacking someone, if they're like, well, I don't want to get vaccinated, and your first response is, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you're helping kill people, and not trying to be like, well, why do you think that way? Or what are your thoughts? It's like, it's
not productive. I feel like if Americans treated politics like they treated sports more, it'd be better. I feel like when people talk about sports, they really give their opinion on who they think is better and why and all of that. And we just don't have that depth with politics, which is very funny. But let's hear from you. What do you got for us this week?
All right. So this weekend, Democrats suck. I think, there's been this eviction moratorium that has been extended by the CDC. It's supposed to end on Saturday. A Supreme Court, or tomorrow, a Supreme Court ruling, there was a challenge to it. And they basically said, well, the CDC, we're not going to strike down the most recent extension that extended it until July 31st, but we will, or August 1st, whatever tomorrow is. I can't remember how many days in July. But basically saying like, we're not going to strike down the extension, but if they want to extend it again, the CDC can't do it. Congress has to act. So basically being like, Congress has to get their shit together and do something if they want to extend it. And in keeping with completely not being surprised about how our political system works, now Democrats are scrambling to try to figure out how to extend it. You've got Nancy Pelosi and others in the Democratic Party that are saying the CDC should just extend it again, completely ignoring the fact that the Supreme Court said you can't do that. And there were other courts that said they can't do that. And it's just a complete disregard for like what their job is. Your job is to govern. Your job is to make difficult decisions. Your job should have been, if you wanted it extended, you should have extended it a month ago. You should have started, once the CDC extended it, once the Supreme Court ruling came down and said, hey, if you want to extend it again, Congress has got to act. They should have gotten their shit together and started making the case for why it should be extended and trying to extend it. But they didn't. And
is it looking like it's going to get extended at this point? Probably not.
There's no way. I think it goes into the eviction, the moratorium gets lifted tomorrow. I'm not sure like when it goes into effect in terms of time. But Congress is trying to recess for the summer. They don't like to work any more than anyone else. In fact, they probably like to work less than the average American. And they want to get home. They want to go hang out for the rest of the summer. There's no way they're going to do this. And also, regardless, even if the House passed something, there's no way it would get through the Senate. It's not a chance.
Right.
And the thing that's upsetting to me is that let's hypothetically, even if they did extend it, it's like you have had people that have been making preparations based on the fact that the moratorium is going to end tomorrow for however long it's been since it got extended, and to swoop in at literally the 11th hour and to change it all again. It's just like, this isn't good. This is not the way you run an economy. It's not the way you
without even really a solution too, just an extension of the problem. It's not like it even be fixed too, which is like the whole point of all of these extensions was to have an extension to be able to figure out the issues with a solution. And that hasn't been done at all with anything.
Well, it actually sort of has. They did allocate money to the states to help people get current on their rent or help landlords get made whole. But the state governments have been complete dog shit about actually getting this money out, which shocking. My mind is blown that these state and local governments haven't figured out how to do it.
And the programs are definitely better than nothing, but there's a lot of issues with the programs of who's getting the money and how and when. So I know my brother works property management. Like part of his job is helping his tenants apply for assistance to basically just give his property management company the money. The money just goes directly to him. I don't know. It's just interesting where it's like a lot of this it's helpful, but it to me, it just seems like it elongates or prolongs the problem. It's not like whenever the issue is over, it's not like these people are going to be in good standing or anything. They're just going to be kicked out.
And that's the thing. I think in politics nowadays, no one wants to make the hard decision. No one wants to be the one. And the fact is, when the foreclosure moratorium stops, when the eviction moratorium stops, it's going to be painful for a lot of people. And you know what? That's sad. I get it. I'm not going to be evicted. I've never been evicted. I can imagine being in that position, though. It's awful because, for just as many people that voluntarily just stop paying their rent, even if they could, there's a whole lot of people that literally could not pay their rent. And now they're looking at being evicted, being in debt, having an eviction on their record, which is going to make it harder for them to get rentals in the future. I guarantee it's probably going to have an impact on homelessness in terms of homelessness ticking up a little bit. Definitely. But you know what? We don't live in a fantasy world where, because you know what, the people who own these properties, they're still having to pay the mortgage. You know what? We can't just cancel all the debt. I know that there's some people that think that's what we should do, but those are non-serious people that are dumb.
Right.
At some point we got to rip this Band-Aid off, and the longer we kick the can down the road, the more painful it's going to be.
Yep, no, exactly. And I'm anxious to see what that pain is going to look like, because I feel like that's going to be the beginning of a real shit show.
It's going to be, and there's a lot of people sitting on a lot of cash that are just waiting for foreclosures to happen and everything else. A lot of people making money off of this, and you can sit back and be like, well, that's terrible. And those people are vultures. And you know what? Yeah, sure, they are. But this is the way our economy works. When something fails, someone buys it for pennies on the dollar and then they make it work. And you know what? It's a form of creative destruction, and you can hate it all you want, but it's just the way it is for now.
Exactly. Speaking of money, a good little segue into crypto. Nothing too crazy, I don't think, this week, although markets seem to be moving a little bit, at least, which is makes things a little more interesting and more fun to follow. But I think pretty cool news came out yesterday is Germany is allowing institutional investors or funds to put up to 20% of their holdings into crypto, which is over, I think, $1 trillion potentially. So to me, I'm always bullish on crypto, but I feel like even with these downturns, I still think Bitcoin could go down to 15, 20K. In 3-4 years, I think Bitcoin will always be, not always, but right now in 3-4 years, Bitcoin will be one of the best investments that you can have. And much of the time, at least for the last 10 years, that's been the case. So holding Bitcoin, holding Ethereum when there's downturns. I don't know, news like that just makes me remember like we're still early. There's still so much money that's on the sidelines that can still be put in. There's also rumors of like Amazon talking about entering, accepting Bitcoin or crypto at some point, which I don't know if that's so soon gonna happen. But again, there's a lot of big companies still waiting on the sidelines. When that happens, it's just for me inevitable that adoption and price are going to go up. I guess what I would a question I'll have for you, and if there's anything else you want to add to, feel free. But if Amazon ever enters the crypto space, I feel like they would be more likely to just have their own coin and kind of make their own economy just in Amazon, because they're a $1 trillion company. They kind of have their own economy. Why not just have their own currency in it? Which I feel is a potential way that crypto is going to go, where big companies are going to kind of have their own currencies that mesh with each other.
What do you think the odds are that within the next 50 years, or let's call it 30, that Jeff Bezos basically forms his own country?
I mean, definitely. Yeah. It's going to be in outer space. Well, dude, looks like we're going to be the first citizens there.
God. Oh, and I guess to wrap up the crypto corner, checking in on CumRocket, it is sitting at 0.02553 cents. So CumRocket is limping along, doing its little cummy thing, and we're rooting.
Are you almost rich yet?
No, I couldn't get in on it. And I had a friend of mine. He was trying to pitch me. He's like, yeah, you can get this if you park your money in it, it pays you like 90%, 96% APY. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even know where to buy that coin you just showed me. And the reason that interest is so good is because it's probably just as likely to go completely defunct within the next 12 months as it is to do anything. Definitely. He's like, that's a really good point. I was like, yeah, because you gotta hold that investment in their shitty altcoin. So, you're making 96% return in a year on what again? So I think it's just wild.
Yeah, but you could have been rich.
Yeah, we'll see. But to move on to horrible, hilarious, and actually to circle back to the vaccine thing, I don't know if you saw this, but you're familiar with the song "Back That Ass Up" by Juvenile?
Yeah, of course.
Absolute banger from when we were in high school and college. Always got the dance floor hopping. So in an attempt to get more people vaccinated, Juvenile and Manny Fresh and some artist I've never heard of re-recorded a version called Vax That Thing Up.
I think I saw that, dude.
It is pathetic. And the funny thing about it is I think it was commissioned by some dating app, I think that is targeted at Black people. And the whole gist of the video is basically like, get your vax so you can go fuck. and the lyrics are god awful. The choreography.
Wow.
I feel like here's what I know. The conversation about what's going to make people get vaccinated that wouldn't. That thing is not making a goddamn single person get vaccinated that was thinking about it. No one's being like, oh, wow, boom, mind blown. Juvenile's rapping about getting vaccinated. That's what I want to do now.
Yeah, no. It's doing the opposite. It's making people saying, fuck that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It was a redeeming. It's like every now and then you come across something where it's like, oh man, people maybe aren't so crazy and stupid, because the YouTube video I think has like 16,000 likes and 20,000 thumbs down. So at least people are recognizing it for the garbage that it is.
That's horrible. I hope they got paid a lot for it.
Who knows? I don't know if Juvenile's hurting for money. I have no idea what kind of deal he had, or if he owns his masters or what, but shit, man, yeah, I don't know. Just the whole thing is just I feel like we've reached a new low in terms of everything. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, like then a week passes and I'm like, oh no, we could go lower.
Yeah,
Everything.
no, we have not hit all-time low. We are on our way for sure.
We are rocketing towards rock bottom.
Hell yeah, just like come Rockets.
Jesus.
Well,
Yeah.
say again.
Nothing. I was gonna say if only we could short come rocket.
Yeah, that just sounds funny in itself. Well, that was the week you missed. It was an awesome week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, people listening. Like, subscribe. We're trying to have a guest on soon. Let us know if you want to be on. Talk to you soon. Peace.